I've selected this topic because I've always found this idea, and concept of a lucky day, being very interesting, as we all know, especially, for the Asian and more particularly for the Chinese community. The idea of a lucky day has always been ingrained in our daily lives, in our daily activities. As you can see, if you actually look at any of the Chinese calendar, or even if you look at the Chinese almanac book, you will find an intricate system of how the Chinese, since time immemorial, have actually devised a system to determine when a lucky day, is applicable, for someone, say, for example, who actually has perhaps some events which they intend to hold, for example, like moving a house, or even holding a marriage, and some other auspicious events. So inevitably, these Chinese systems of almanac, they will actually provide you, as to to actually provide a guidance, as to when these events should be held. And if you find it's such an intricate system, and for example, it depends on, for example, like the element you're in, whether you're water element or the earth element, it's so intricate. And on top of that, it also depends on the animal sign that you were born in. Perhaps if you were born in a certain year, then perhaps certain days are not suitable. So if you look at this system, I find it always very interesting that since time immemorial, for perhaps thousands of years, the Chinese have actually devised this system of telling us when our lucky day is, and we can see how important this is in our Chinese culture, and this is of course very much ingrained in the feng shui as well. And this does not just confine, this is not confined to only Chinese community. If you look at other Asian cultures, like for example, the Indian culture, we often find that if one actually happens to see an elephant, then that is actually considered a lucky day, because elephants, are a symbol of health, wealth, and also longevity. And of course, we know that, for example, like the god in the Hindu religion, the god Ganesha, is a symbol of good luck, symbol of luck. So you'll find often figurines of elephants being placed in Indian families, in the entrance of houses to Indian families. Not just that, it's like, for example, even in the Western world, the concept of and this idea of luck is also very ingrained. Like, for example, if you happen to find a 4-leaf clover, that's also considered very lucky, because it's very rare. And it's believed that if you hold a 4-leaf clover, it's able to ward off evil spirits, and you're able to see fairies, if or the devas, if you're able to find this 4-leaf clover. And also, how about, like, for example, if you happen to see a shooting star in the sky at night, when you see a shooting star, that's also considered very lucky, because it's believed, if you see the shooting star, then whatever you wish for, will materialize. I think those are the very signs of good luck that we all know of. So I often find this concept of good luck or lucky, as something that's actually very interesting to me. That's why, to me, I would then, to me, this actually then provides me the motivation to find out exactly what the Buddha says. What would actually constitute a good luck, based on the suttas. As we know, the Buddha, is fully enlightened. In his infinite wisdom, he would exactly know what a lucky day is. So instead of speculating, what the lucky day is based on all these signs that we all know from ancient times, it is most appropriate, for us to find out what a lucky day is, based on the teaching of the Buddha, as recorded in the suttas. So,
Good morning.
So that as the background, I would now like to actually share with you, the suttas and also the discourses that the Blessed One has actually taught. That will actually give us, an indication, as to what a lucky day is. Okay. So firstly, firstly, I'd like to share with you this sutta, that's extracted from the Majjhima Nikaya, the middle length discourses. This is MN 131, and this sutta is actually entitled Bhadeka Rata Sutta. Bhadeka Rata Sutta, this word Bhadeka Rata, is actually interpreted as an auspicious day. An auspicious day, which of course, in our daily language will also mean a lucky day. So this sutta actually begins on one occasion, when the Blessed One, the Buddha, was actually staying in Samadhi, in the Jeta's Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. So on this day itself, there was a conversation between the Buddha and the monks, and the Buddha actually then addressed the monks. He said, "Monks." Then of course the monks responded, "Yes, Bhante." Then the Buddha actually taught the monks, "I'll teach you, the summary and exposition, of one, who has actually had an auspicious day. Listen and place close attention in our speed." So then the monks, of course, said, "Yes, Bhante." Okay, so in this MN 131, the Buddha actually says, he actually told the monks, he said that you shouldn't chase after the past, or place expectations on the future. Okay, what is past is really left behind, and the future is yet unreached. Okay, and the Buddha says, whatever quality is present in you clearly, see right there, not taken in, unshaken. That is how you should develop the heart. Okay. So here, the Buddha is actually telling the monks, in this sutta, that you shouldn't actually chase after the past. What is past is really past. And you shouldn't also place expectations on what the future will hold for you. So instead, what you should do is you should actually be aware, whatever quality that arises in you, you should actually clearly see, you should actually clearly see right there. You should actually see very clearly, all the qualities that arise in your mind. And you should not be taken in, and you should not be actually be affected, and be agitated, by these qualities arise in you. And you should be unshaken. That is how you should develop the mind. And you should do this ardently, and you should do this ardently, which is what should be done today. Because the Buddha says that if you don't, for who knows, tomorrow death, there's no bargaining with death and also his mighty hold. So the Buddha says that whoever lives thus ardently, relentlessly both day and night, has truly had an auspicious day. So says the peaceful sage. So the Buddha says, if you can actually do these steps that the Buddha has actually laid out, effectively, you already have a lucky day. You have actually created a lucky day for yourself. Firstly, you shouldn't actually, chase after the past, always clinging on to the past, thinking about what you have had and experienced in the past, and you basically long for it. You want this past to actually recur, so that you can continue to enjoy. And you shouldn't actually place expectations, or in terms of what you would want, what you would actually expect to have in the future, because it's actually it's actually uncertain, and the future has not come, and there's no certainty as to what the future might hold, because all these is an interplay of causes and conditions, so there's actually no certainty. So what you should do is that the Buddha says, you should actually be aware, what quality is present within you. See clearly, what arises in your mind, right here and right there. So that is what the Buddha has actually advised, and he further says that you shouldn't be taken in and unshaken by these this Dhamma or these mental factors that arise in you. All these qualities that arise in you, you shouldn't be affected by them, and that is how you should develop the heart. And Buddha continues, he says, and how monks does one chase after the past? Okay, then the Buddha then further explains, what do you mean by chasing after the past? The Buddha says here, one gets carried away with the delight of, in the past, I had such a body, and in the past, I had such a feeling, perception, volitional formations, and consciousness. So if you can see here, the Buddha actually then draws reference to one who actually clings, and he actually clings into it, to the whatever that has happened in the past, and he actually wants these things that happened in the past to continue to be maintained, to the present and in the future. So here, this person actually gets carried away. He's actually very much intoxicated, and he's very infatuated, with the delight, with regard to the five aggregates subject to clinging, So he keeps thinking, oh, in the past I had such a beautiful, a strong body, perhaps right now, nowadays we find, when we actually have white hair, when we somehow we notice white hair on us, or when we see wrinkles, signs of aging, and then we start to think, hey, in the past I had such nice black hair. Why is it that now my white is turning gray and white? And so that's when you get carried away, with what is in the past with regard to your body, And how about feeling? Feeling, you keep thinking about, and you become very infatuated, with all the feelings, with all the pleasant feelings you have. For example, you think about all the pleasant experiences you had, with regard to the 5 causes of sensual pleasures. You have had nice food before, and you managed to travel, overseas, have gatherings with your families and friends. So you pine after all these pleasant feelings, and you want them to be maintained, and you get carried away with the delight of this. And same goes for the other 5 aggregates, the perception, the sanya, your perception, when all the delights you have, in perceiving something favorable, volitional formations, all the nice experiences you've had, and also the nice consciousness in all these sense objects. So the Buddha says, when you actually chase after all these things in the past, that's when you get carried away. And of course, in the sutta, the Buddha then explains, what it means that if one does not chase after the past. Of course, here, then the Buddha gives the negative form, that one does not get carried away with the delight of these 5 aggregates which I mentioned before. And then the Buddha next, then he also explains what does it mean when one places expectations on the future. He thinks about, he plans, and he thinks about what he wants, about what he wants in the future. He thinks about all kinds of pleasurable experiences or pleasant experiences that he would expect to have in the future. And here the Buddha again refers to the 5 aggregates, the 5 khandhas. And he also similarly places future expectations with regard to these 5 khandhas. And that is what the Buddha actually means by saying, being carried away with the delight with regard to the future. Okay, and of course, the Buddha then explained the negative form. If you do not, what it means not to place expectations in the future is when you do not get carried away with these 5 aggregates with regard to the delight and the pleasant experiences you've had with these 5 aggregates. Okay, so then we come to the next step where the Buddha actually says, so how is it one, that's taken in with regard to the present qualities? Okay, here I find this sutta also very interesting, because here you see the Buddha actually says, how is one taken in with regard to present qualities? So sometimes we may hear that some may say that sati alone is actually good enough, that you just need to know what arises and what ceases in your mind, and that itself is good enough, and just be in the present moment. But you see here, the Buddha says, how is one taken in with regard to the present qualities? So it does not mean that just being mindful alone, that itself, you will not be affected by ignorance and delusion. If you're just being mindful alone, if you do not actually further develop your mind by applying sampajanya or developing wisdom, being mindful alone is not good enough. It's just like I don't know. I remember this story I heard from Ajahn Brahm. He actually spoke about a security guard who actually looks after the master's house, and then one day, right, a thief, actually breaks into the house, right, and of course the thief, starts removing all the valuable items from the house, and load them into the car, into the car. And this security guard, he just observes, mindfully, what the thief is doing. He's carrying the item, he's lifting, he's moving, he's loading, without doing anything, and that's being mindful, right? But that is actually not sufficient, right? You must actually apply wisdom, to actually for you to know, what should be done, immediately, for actions to be taken. You must apply sampajanya, the wisdom, the wisdom, to develop wisdom, for wisdom to be developed in order for you to take the necessary courses of action. So that is precisely, what is actually being mentioned here with regard to present qualities. If you just apply mindfulness alone and you do not apply sampajanya, to see, how phenomena, or conditioned phenomena arise and cease through causes and conditions, then it's very is very possible for one to be affected and to be taken in, even when one is mindful about these qualities. So here it says, there is a case when an uninstructed run-of-the-mill person who has not seen the Noble One, is not well versed in the teachings of the Noble Ones, is not trained in the teachings of the Noble Ones, right? So this is actually a person, who is uninstructed, Putu Jana. He does not understand the teachings of the Buddha, and he's not trained, in the Noble One's discipline. And what he does is he sees form as self, and self as possessing form, or form as in the self, or self as in the form. So what happens here is this is someone who actually sees form as possessing a self, a permanent, unchanging self. So, and he actually regards this self as something that that one can control, absolute control, and this self itself is actually permanent, unchanging, and it actually something that's ingrained, and it actually follows us from life to life. So this form is what he thinks as possessing self. And the Buddha continues by saying he actually sees Vedana, feeling as self, and he sees perception as self, and he sees a volitional formation, sankhara, as self. It's something that's permanent. He actually views all these 5 aggregates as something that is permanent, unchanging, and there's a permanent entity to it, and you have absolute control over it, and of course, he also sees consciousness, consciousness, as self as well. So he actually regards these 5 aggregates as having a permanent, unchanging self. So this is actually what the Buddha says, that when these qualities arise in you, the 5, when you observe the 5 khandhas in you, if you see these 5 aggregates as self, then you'll be taken in, by whatever qualities that arise in the present moment. And then the Buddha further goes on to say, and how is one not taken in with regard to present qualities? Here, the Buddha says this is the case of a disciple of the noble ones, and he's well versed in the teachings of the Blessed One. He's well trained, and because of this, he actually this disciple he does not see the five aggregates as self. Okay, so that is what the Buddha is saying. That because of his knowledge in the Dhamma, and also he actually practices them in accordance with the teachings of the Blessed One. So because of this, he does not see the form, the feelings, the perception, volitional formations, and consciousness. He does not see them, as self. Okay, so and because of this, he's not taken in with regard to the present qualities. So whenever five aggregates that arise in him at any time, he observes them, but he does not regard this as self, because he's able to see, he's able to watch his mind, when these five aggregates arise, and he's able to see how the mind reacts to these five aggregates, and see the interplay of these five aggregates, and how they actually are interwoven, the true causes and conditions. So from there, he's actually able to penetrate through the Dhamma, to see, how intrinsically non-self. There's actually no of the factors actually changes. Then, essentially the five aggregates also change as a result. So because of that, he's able to penetrate through the Dhamma, and he's able to see that the non-self nature is essentially intrinsically present in all sankharas, all conditioned phenomena. So because of this, he does not, he's not taken in, he's not affected by the five aggregates. No matter what happens to these five aggregates, he's not affected by them. And because of this, that's what the Buddha says, he is not taken in and he's not shaken, so he becomes equanimous. So that's what the Buddha says when he means that one is not taken in with regard to the present qualities. So here, the next slide I've already explained. So the Buddha again repeats what he actually mentioned to the monks again, because as you know, in the Buddha's time, there was no tape recording, right, or no DVD recording. So everything was actually transmitted orally. So in the teachings, we find that a lot of times, there are repetitions made, and this actually serves to imprint these teachings into the mind of the listeners. So the Buddha again repeats this, shouldn't chase after the past, don't place expectations in the future, past is really behind, it's really water under the bridge, no point crying after spilled milk, right, as it were. Okay, and the future is also not here yet. So why do you actually conjecture into the future, right? We don't know what's going to happen. So why think about the future? So the Buddha says it's bad. You should instead, watch your mind and observe the five aggregates, as they arise right here and right now. And this is how you should develop the heart. And if you do this ardently, and you're able to actually do this day and night, relentlessly both day and night, then you actually have had an auspicious day. You actually have a lucky day. So says the peaceful sage. So the Buddha is actually saying here, you don't actually have to hanker, and be so concerned, or also be fixated about when a lucky day is, right. The Buddha says it doesn't really matter, in a way, whether what you speculate to be a lucky day. But the Buddha says, more importantly, you should actually watch your five aggregates. Watch your mind. Start with your mind. Watch your mind, because the mind is actually where you can actually see the conditionality of your five aggregates. If you look at the five aggregates, right, only one is formed. The other four aggregates are actually mind-based. Your feelings, perceptions, volitional formations, and consciousness, these are mind. So the mind is such an important thing, in our meditation. That's why, you know, in Dhammapada, the Buddha says, everything is mind, no? By mind is all made. So that's why now we must start with watching the mind. That is actually what the Buddha says, that to have a lucky day, all you need to do is just to look at the five aggregates alone, you know, observe them, you know, and see for yourselves, you know, how these five aggregates are non-self. So that is actually what the Buddha says in this sutta, you know, about having a lucky day. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, press the wrong button. Okay, so that is actually what MN 131 is about. Okay, next, I also want to highlight to you this sutta, you know, this Samyutta Nikaya 22.1, you know, which also mirrors what the Buddha actually says in MN 131. Okay, so here in this case, we actually find this sutta, you know, where he actually records a conversation between the Blessed One and this householder called Nakula Pita. You know? I'm sure you have actually read about this Nakula Pita and Nakula Mata, you know, being very two devoted disciples of the Blessed One. You know? And they are, of course, husband and wife. And at this time, the Buddha was actually at this time, the Buddha was actually living among the Bhagas at the crocodile haunt, you know, in this Besakala Grove. And at that time, there was this conversation, you know, because Nakula Pita actually was really very old and feeble, you know, he was really very advanced in age, and he actually wanted to see the Buddha, you know. And so one day, this Nakula Pita actually went to see the Buddha, and he told the Buddha, you know, I'm actually very old already, you know. And here, what is interesting here, it says, if you look at the third paragraph, second line, right, it says, as it's only rarely that I get to see the Blessed One. And the monks who nourish the heart. May the Blessed One teach me. May the Blessed One instruct me for my long-term benefit and happiness. My apologies. There's a marriage going on next in my next door for my neighbor. My apologies. So just now here, if you look at the second line right here, it says that is actually rarely, you know, that I get to see the Blessed One and the monks who nourish in the heart, nourish the heart. That's why you see here, we can see that during the Buddha's time, you know, even the householders, right, even though they were born in India, you know, and Buddha was actually had already arisen, you know, in India itself. You see that many of these householders they actually rarely got the chance to see the Blessed One, because the Buddha actually you know, travels from place to place, and he, you know, he stays only for, you know, for a while, you know, at certain places, and you know, he travels. So many a time these disciples, they actually rarely got a chance to see the Buddha and the monks as well. So you know, so here we are actually very fortunate, because, you know, we actually have the suttas right in front of us, and we can actually read them, you know, very easily, you know, and get a comprehensive picture of what the Buddha actually taught. So in this sutta, then this Nakula Pita actually wanted the Buddha to actually give a Dhamma talk to him, because he finds that he's really very old, you know, and he's very advanced in age, you know, and you know, and he wanted to listen to a Dhamma talk by the Buddha. So the Buddha says, yes, indeed, you know, householder, he says that the body is weak and afflicted. You know? So looking after this body, so if you claim that you actually have a healthy body, the Buddha says that this is sheer foolishness, because our body is actually subject to decay and to affliction. So one should not actually believe that one is actually healthy, because that is something that's very fluid, it's very uncertain, And the Buddha said that's why you should train yourself, that even though I may be afflicted in body, my mind will be unafflicted. Okay, so the Buddha tells this Nakula Pitta, that this is how you should train yourself. Even though your body is afflicted, my mind is unafflicted. So this Nakula Pitta, right, after listening to this short Dhamma talk, by the Blessed One, he actually delighted. Right? He actually rose from his seat and bowed down. And he actually left Buddha, circumambulating him, and he actually went to see Venerable Sariputta. And the Venerable Sariputta actually told Nakula Pitta, he says, "Wow, your faculties are clear and calm, householder. Your complexion is pure. Have you actually had the opportunity today to listen to the Dhamma talk, given by the Blessed One?" So this Nakula Pitta says, "Yeah, indeed, I've just been sprinkled by the Blessed One with the deathless ambrosia of a Dhamma talk." And this Venerable Sariputta actually asked Nakula Pitta, he said, "How were you sprinkled by the Blessed One, with this sprinkle of deathlessness, through this Dhamma talk?" Then, of course, the Nakula Pitta then told Venerable Sariputta about the Dhamma talk, about what the Buddha says. Even though you may be afflicted in body, you should not be afflicted in mind. Okay. Then the Venerable Sariputta actually asked Nakula Pitta, he says, didn't it occur to you, to question the Buddha further, what do you mean by being afflicted in body but not afflicted in mind? And what does it mean, by this sentence? Why didn't it occur to you that you should ask the Buddha, what it means by this short discourse? So then, of course, Nakula Pitta said, "Okay, I will come from a far away to hear the teachings, by Venerable Sariputta, with regard to this." So Venerable Sariputta says, "Okay, then you should actually listen and pay close attention. I will speak." Then here, what is interesting, that I want to highlight to you is what actually Venerable Sariputta says here is very, very similar to what the Buddha talks about in MN 131, of having a lucky day. He actually says that if you actually regards your five aggregates as self, that means your form, your body, your feelings, your perceptions, your sankhara, your volitional formations and consciousness. If you actually regards this, as mind, then you are actually afflicted both in body and in mind, because when your body actually suffers, and when you keep thinking about that I used to have such a healthy body, or when will I actually get better, if you keep on thinking about the past and the future, then your mind is actually very agitated. It's very, very very agitated and very shaken, by all these thoughts, because you keep on thinking about the self, that it should get better, it should, there is a self to it, I should actually be the same as what I had before, I want my health back. You want something that you expect this health to be something of a permanent nature, unchanging. You want everything to be self, and because of that, one is actually afflicted in body and in mind. Okay, this is what the Buddha, this Venerable Sariputta says towards the end of this sentence. Then of course, he further explains how is it that one is unafflicted in mind, means that you are not shaken by what happens to you in body, but you, even though your body may change, you remain equanimous, and you become unafflicted. You are unafflicted in mind. So here again, the Venerable Sariputta again talks about how you actually should regard the five aggregates as not self. You should not actually regard this as self. Means you should regard these five aggregates as non-self. They're actually unstable. They're actually devoid of a self. You cannot totally you cannot absolutely control it. And also it's like a dart, a boil, something that's it's like an alien, it's actually nothing for us to hold on to. So this is how you should actually regard these five aggregates. That's what Venerable Sariputta says. So as you can see, essentially what is actually stated by Venerable Sariputta in this Samyutta Nikaya, it very much mirrors, what the Buddha taught the monks in MN 131, that if you should actually practice the contemplation of these five aggregates all the time, ardently day and night. You should regard these five aggregates as non-self. And for you to do that, you must actually watch the mind. That's something that that I will cover later on. And you should actually see how the five aggregates are, the interplay of these five aggregates and how they actually constitute causes and conditions which they're intricate. They're this intricate web of causes and conditions. That essentially these five aggregates they are so fluid. They are like a foam. What the Buddha says, like a foam in a river. You see it, then you don't. Or it's just like a banana trunk. You keep on peeling and peeling the banana trunk. You think that is actually, there's something substantial or substantive in the banana trunk, but actually when you peel off the trunk one by one, actually there's nothing in there. It's intrinsically empty. That's why it's emptiness. It's really like what the in Buddhist term is called sunyata. It's empty. The Tibetans also, and the Mahayanis also emphasize on this emptiness, this sunyata. There's actually nothing there. It's actually all causes and conditions, and there's no self to it. If you can see that, means that you have penetrated the Dhamma, and you know and see the Dhamma. That's when you have entered the stream, and you become a stream enterer, a sotapanna. So the Buddha says, that's why it's such a lucky day. If you practice this day and night, and you can see the five aggregates, that itself is a lucky day because if you can see through all these, you are actually eradicating the ignorance, the ignorance, the asavas and the ignorance which have actually shackled and chained us, throughout this inconceivable samsara, that no one can tell how long we've been in this samsara for eons and eons and inconstruable and inconceivable samsara, and going forward, how long we are going to be trapped, and mired in this samsara, it's actually something that's actually quite scary. So if you can practice this contemplation of these five aggregates, day and night, that's what you can understand what the Buddha says. If you can do this every day, in your daily experience, by putting your mindfulness in your sixth sense basis, be aware, place your sati in your sixth sense basis, your eye, your ear, your nose, your tongue, your body, and your mind, most importantly, your mind as well. The sixth sense basis, place them, place your sati in this sixth sense basis as you go through your daily activities. It doesn't mean that you need to be find a block leave, of 5 to 10 days, and attend an intensive retreat, sit cross-legged. Then only then you can meditate. Of course, attending a meditation retreat is good. You actually recharge your battery. You recharge your battery, your sati sampajanya. You recharge your battery. But in our daily life, lives, we shouldn't just think that because the condition is not conducive, therefore, it's not conducive for meditation. I just forget about it. I only meditate, when it comes to retreats. That is actually not what the Buddha has taught. The Buddha actually teaches us these five aggregates must be observed day and night. And this is when you do this, you do this by placing your sati in the sixth sense basis, your sixth sense doors, and be aware, of the objects, that actually impinge upon these sense doors. Okay, and be aware, the consciousness, that arise, whether you see, whether you hear, whether you smell something, or whether you taste something, or whether you feel something, or whether you touch something, or whether you think of something. Mental object is a reason. Whether you are driving to office or going to school, you're in your car, and you actually, your hands are on the steering wheel, and your hand, perhaps the aircon is blowing at you. You're listening to music, or your soles of your feet are on the brake or accelerator. or you're seeing the traffic lights, or seeing the people, in your surrounding, you're being aware of the surrounding when you're driving. So, open up, your six sense doors, be aware of all these sense objects that impinge upon you, and just be aware, that is the first step. That this is what we call samatha practice, a dynamic samatha, where you try to, develop, the continuity, and of the continuity of observing, your six sense doors. And that's actually when you actually it calms your mind, it calms your mind, it calms down your mind, and it tranquilizes your mind, and this is actually a dynamic samatha. Then, of course, if you go to a meditation retreat, you sit cross-legged and you watch, the anapanasati, the in and out breath, or you can be watching also your rising and falling of the abdomen, is fine as well, but that is just the initial step, of actually establishing samatha, sati. But once, your mind becomes calm, a lot less discursive thoughts, that's when you should actually withdraw your mind, from withdraw your mind, from the object, and withdraw your mind to the subject. Who's the subject? The subject is yourself. Withdraw that to your subject. Look at how the mind reacts to these sense objects that impinge upon your sense doors. How does it react? Does it react, in with the positive way, or is it actually in the adverse way or negative way? Is there anything? Is there actually any greed, or any hatred, or aversion, or is there any clinging? Is there any delusion, ignorance that arises in your mind? So observe, observe all these. These are actually grease, fertilizers, for wisdom, right? Grease of the meals of wisdom. So when you actually see all these all these defilements now that arise in your mind, all these lobha, dosa, and moha, then you actually then contemplate, how these arise through causes and conditions. That's when you actually contemplate, how they arise through the interplay of causes and conditions, and that's when you can actually see how all these arise through the interplay of all these factors, and that's how you actually see non-self. And of course, if there are wholesome elements that arise in you, then by right effort, you should actually try to increase these positive states, such that you can further develop your spiritual cultivation. So that's why the Buddha says it's so important for us to practice this day and night, because once you're able to see how these five aggregates, right, they interplay to be non-self in nature, then you have actually Dhamma abhisamanya, that means you have actually penetrated the Dhamma, and you have actually seen, that essentially there's non-self. You know and see non-self, and you actually have actually uprooted the factor of Sakaya Ditti. It means you've actually removed the wrong view. You become somebody who's perfect in view. So you don't actually you know what the Buddha says is intrinsically true. That's when you have this unshakable and faith in what the Buddha has actually taught. This verified confidence in what the Buddha. It's not just something that you hold on to like a blind faith, that I must have this faith. It's not. It becomes like a verified confidence, because through direct experiential contemplation that what the Buddha taught is intrinsically true. So you actually eradicate this Sakaya Ditti. This Sakaya Ditti, where you actually have this identity view. And because you have removed this Sakaya Ditti, this view of a non-self is a view only. It's not really, we have not eradicated the factor of self yet. This conceit you have not removed yet, but it's just a view. And because of you don't have this view, so you also have this perfect confidence, in the Buddha's teaching. That's when you have uprooted the factor of doubt. And of course, because you have seen the Dhamma for yourself, right? That is actually, everything is non-self, and everything is through this interplay of causes and conditions. Then you realize that all these rules and observances, this silapata paramasa, also do not mean anything to you, right? Because you know that what is intrinsically important is your mind. How your mind reacts to these five sense laws is not important doing prayers 7 times a day, or taking a bath in the river for 5 times, in the Ganges River, or circumambulating a spiritual tree 10 times, all these observances mean nothing to you, because you know that to have a lucky day, right? To even have an auspicious day, then you must actually contemplate the 5 aggregates, and that's where the important thing is your mind, how your mind reacts to it, and how you actually regard this as non-self. That itself is the most important. So you find that this Labata Paramasa also, this or rules and observances also something that's actually is not beneficial. So because of that, you have uprooted the 3 factors, and you have entered the stream, and you become a stream enterer. So that's why the Buddha says, if you can do this contemplation of these 5 aggregates, as non-self, effectively, you've already had a lucky day. It's even better than actually, hitting, winning the 4D or the jackpot, or even better than actually becoming the wheel turning monarch. Even if you actually were the king, an emperor that actually rules over the 4 corners of the world, actually the Buddha says that is nothing. It's actually not even 1/16th worth of actually becoming a stream enterer. Because actually, that's why, because even if you're a universal monarch, right, it's all transient, and there's actually there's no guarantee, that you will not fall into the woeful plains if you actually do not cultivate well enough. So the Buddha says, once you become a stream enterer, the 3 woeful plains actually are closed off for you. You can never get down there anymore. The lift doesn't go up the basement anymore. It just goes up only. It doesn't go to basement anymore. So this stream enterer, effectively, the 3 woeful plains have been closed off, and you only have up to 7 lifetimes in this samsara. Can you imagine how wonderful it is compared to inconceivable and inconceivable lifetimes that we're going to be going round and round, in this samsara, like a dog on a leash, going around a pole, going round and round, because we are so we are actually in darkness. We still have this delusion of this ignorance of a self, that we cling on to it, and because of that, we create also there's this clinging, and we create lots of karma that keeps on propelling us in this samsara. It's like we keep on having this electricity to the radio. We keep on if the electricity is still on, the radio keeps on playing. So the only way is actually to unplug it, such that the radio doesn't play anymore. But for us to do that, we must practice this contemplation of aggregates, which the Buddha actually has taught. That's why the Buddha in this Dhammapada, in this minor collection, I'd like to share with you. Here, the Buddha says, one might live for 100 years without seeing rise and fall, but a life of 1 day is better for the one seeing rise and fall. Okay, so that is the first part. And then the Buddha proceeds to say, one might live for 100 days without seeing the deathless state, but a life of 1 day is better for one seeing the deathless state. Okay, so here I find it interesting here because of course the Buddha says that it's important to see the rise and fall. How the 5 aggregates rise and cease through causes, and how they rise and they cease. Okay, but the Buddha doesn't just stop there. The Buddha says it's better for one to see the life of 1 day is better for one seeing the deathless state. It means Then the Buddha says, what the Buddha is saying that in addition to seeing this rise and fall, here if you can see the deathless state, that itself, is, even if you live for one day, that itself is good enough. So here, if you just see the rise and fall, here you're just seeing, that you're being mindful of, phenomena that rise and fall. You see, that means you're being mindful. But here, Buddha further says that you should also see the deathless state. Okay, the deathless state means that you should see nibbana. Means you must at least have a glimpse of nibbana. Means you have actually penetrated the Dhamma and you have actually entered the stream. You have seen the glimpse of nibbana. So even if you have just seen a glimpse of nibbana and you become a stream enterer, that itself it's really worth one day on earth. Just by living one day itself is good enough, without having to live for 100 years. If you just live for one day, able to see this deathless state, then it is actually worth being a human being, and your life as a human being has not been in vain. So here in Dhammapada, we can see seeing rise and fall, is one thing, but you should also see the deathless state. Rise and fall. Here, if you just see, for example, something that rises or something that ceases. For example, you see a feeling, okay, unpleasant feelings arises. Then you see, okay, yes, actually ceases. If you just see the rise and fall alone, that itself is just sati, okay? But it does not, it just sharpens your mindfulness, and your alertness. But it does not actually increase your wisdom. To increase your wisdom, you must cultivate wisdom. You must actually see how these five aggregates interplay through causes and conditions, when sense objects impinge on your sense doors. So by seeing this, that's how the light of wisdom arises in you. And then you suddenly see, in a snap of a finger, you suddenly see, oh wow, I can see now, that actually all these are, it's actually through interplay of causes and conditions, and you see for yourself, oh, it's actually non-self. That's when you catch a glimpse of deathless, nibbana. So if you can live one day like that, I think you don't actually have to live for 100 years. Just having one day itself is good enough. Okay, so here I just want to share with you what I just mentioned just now about the different the different ways of cultivation. Just now when the Buddha says that you should not be taken in by the present moment, because you can actually be in the present moment and you actually watch whatever that arises in you, how they arise and cease. But that does not actually, that does not actually provide the condition for this panya, for wisdom to arise. So, but you must actually practice sampajanya, by actually seeing how all these arise and fall through causes and conditions. That's why in this Anguttara Nikaya 4.41, the Buddha actually talks about 4 developments of concentration, samadhi. Okay, here the Buddha talks about 4 types, which I actually had covered before in my earlier Dhamma talks. The first 2 types, essentially the Buddha is talking about the pleasant abiding in the here and now, in the jhana, and also the attainment of knowledge and vision. But more importantly is actually the 3rd and 4th. I just want to highlight to you 3rd and 4th. You see here, the Buddha says, what is the development of a samadhi that leads to only mindfulness and alertness? Here is a case where feelings are known to the monks as they arise, known as they persist, known as they subside. Then the same goes for all the other 5 aggregates. You just note only. Arise, cease, arise, persist, cease, arise, persist, cease. Okay? Here the Buddha says this is a development of concentration that leads to only mindfulness and alertness. Okay, you only observe only. Very much like what Ajahn Brahm says, that the security guard just take notes only. Okay, the thief is moving, the thief is actually taking the items now. The thief is moving, is loading the items onto the car. He's just noting only. Okay, but this is just basically looking at mindfulness and alertness. Here, the Buddha says that itself does not lead to the ending of the asavas. The Buddha says, what is the development of concentration that when it's developed, it leads to the ending of the affluence. Here, the Buddha says, this is in addition to only observing the rising and cessation, you must actually see how they interplay through causes and conditions. You say, such is form, such is origination, such is pass away. Okay, such is feeling, such is origination, and such is pass away. It means you actually ask yourself, how do the five aggregates arise? Yeah, and how do the five aggregates actually cease? So when you see about this interplay of these five aggregates, that's where you can see, non-self, which is actually anatta. Okay, this is actually the development of samadhi that leads to the ending of the asavas, the affluence. So here, the Buddha actually gives us a very valuable, sutta, in AN 4.41 as to how we should practice that. Looking at the five aggregates, when you contemplate aggregates, you should not be just looking at sati alone, but you must actually further develop it. Look at how your mind actually reacts to these five aggregates, and from there, watch your mind. How does your mind actually react to these five aggregates? Is there lobha, dosa, moha, or is there no lobha, dosa, moha? If there's lobha, dosa, moha, then apply the contemplation, of the anatta, the non-self, and then from anatta, you'll be able to see anicca and dukkha as well. It's actually intrinsically there. So that's where the Buddha says, if you can practice this way, then it actually leads to the ending of affluence. Otherwise, you're just actually noting, but actually there's no, there's actually no wisdom at all. So, and of course, like what I mentioned to you before, to observe the five aggregates, how do we observe the five aggregates? The five aggregates you observe is actually when you actually contemplate through the six sense doors. As what you can see from this sutta, from these six sets of six. Six sets of six, I think it's MN143, I think. MN143, six sets of six. When the Buddha says, that you should actually place your attention to the six sense bases, and how your six sense bases actually reacts to the six sense doors, and how you should actually contemplate through the interplay, for example, your mind sees a plate of delicious lasagna, or char kway teow or whatever, then from there, you see, craving has arisen in me. But how does a craving arise? Watch, you just contemplate, or because the eye, gets in contact, with the plate of food, delicious food, because of that, actually consciousness arises. And these three, the sense, external, internal sense basis with consciousness, all converge together to form contact. And from contact, you actually get feelings, perceptions, and also the craving itself, the volition. So when you actually see all these, how these interplay, then you actually see that intrinsically is actually oneself. So that's where, the Buddha says that you should actually place your attention to the six sense doors, and try to, see how, these five sense doors arise in you. Because if you can just do that, and if you can see, if you can penetrate through the Dhamma, then I think you already have a very, very lucky day. It's even, I think, the luckiest day that any human or devas can have. If you become a stream enterer, that is the luckiest day that anyone, in this planes of existence can have. I think you even far exceed the devas and the brahmas. If you can just penetrate just the Dhamma to become a stream enterer, you far exceed the luck of the devas and brahmas, who are still who have not entered the stream. If you can just see that how these five aggregates are non-self, you actually have the luckiest day that any sentient being can have, in this world, with these six planes of existence. That's why the Buddha says, practice this day and night ardently, and you actually have yourself a lucky day. And the Buddha actually then says, for example, in this Anguttara Nikaya Book of One, in this Kaya Gata Sati, if you can practice this, watching the mind and see how the mind reacts, and seeing the interplay to see the causes and conditions, and to realize non-self and penetrate Dhamma. So that's why you see, if you practice this Kaya Gata Sati, which is actually essentially watching the mind, how the mind reacts, you actually, the Buddha says, because one thing when developed, it actually leads to attainment of knowledge and vision, and it actually leads to the fruit of knowledge and liberation. That means if you actually can, you actually are able to achieve any of the 4 stages of liberation, up to arahantship, and you're able to even abandon. Look at the second paragraph. Abandon the conceit of I am, and you abandon ignorance, which is what is actually chaining us to this samsara, is actually ignorance, right? We don't know. We don't see the 4 noble truths, because the first noble truth itself is telling you already, that life is dukkha, because of this dukkha, sankhara dukkha, and the viparanama dukkha. We see that this dukkha, because of what? Because essentially is non-self. Everything moves, everything changes. You can't have, think the same, all the time, and what you treasure or what you love one day may leave you, and you may come into contact with somebody you don't like, and your body may fall sick, and things change, and things deteriorate. That is the first noble truth. But because we don't see the first noble truth, we are actually so mired in ignorance. This whole darkness of ignorance, we don't see the first noble truth. That's why we don't see the first noble truth, and we don't see the second noble truth. And because of that, we crave for this. And that's why the second noble truth, if you can see the second noble truth, that is this craving that actually causes us to suffer, because we regard all this as self. Then and because of this second noble truth, and we know that this third noble truth itself, that if we can eradicate this craving, is nibbana, and we can see, and if we can see that, then and also the way that we can lead to this seeing of this 4 noble truth. Essentially, we have seen the 4 noble truth, by just practicing this kayagata sati, and you see the 4 noble truth, you penetrate the Dhamma, and because of that, you become a stream enterer. That's why the Buddha says you are able to actually eradicate the conceit of I am, and all the factors are abandoned. So we can imagine how potent and how powerful this way of practice that is taught by the Buddha. The Buddha says you must practice this contemplation of 5 aggregates by seeing them in non-self. Don't just stop at seeing impermanent, anicca, anicca. We must always continue to see, how anicca leads to dukkha, and how dukkha leads to anatta. So the crown jewel of the Buddha's teaching is actually anatta. It's not about being anicca only, but you must see anatta. To see anatta, you must actually watch the mind, because only then you can see the subject, the mind. Only then you can see how non-self causes conditions happen. Because if you keep on seeing the object, for example, if you keep on seeing your body, you keep on seeing for example, the breath, or the rising and falling, if you're not just seeing the object itself, basically you're not actually you don't actually see the non-self nature. You just see anicca, but you don't see how causes and conditions arise. It's just like what I always say. For example, you see a lightning in the sky, right? Then for a shooting moment, the lightning appears and disappears. Then you see, arising, persisting, and falling. But can you actually tell why, what conditions and causes lead to the lightning to arise and cease? You can't, because it's something that's an object, But for you to actually see the conditions, you must always come back to the subject, which is the mind. Withdraw to the mind and see how the mind reacts. That's what the Buddha says. Kayagata sati is always, you must practice this kayagata sati in order for you to actually have the wisdom, in order for you to even penetrate the Dhamma, and see through the Dhamma and see how things arise and fall through causes and conditions. That's why, in a nutshell, when I actually highlighted this sutta to you, MN 131, the Buddha himself is actually saying there is lucky day, because if you can see the benefits that you can get by practicing this kayagata sati, watch your mind, you actually already have a lucky day, because you're developing, the potential, and the conditions for you to see the Dhamma, for you to become a sotapanna, even in this very lifetime. That's why the Buddha says, if you can do this, it is already the luckiest day you can ever have in your life. And if you can become a sotapanna, I think you are the luckiest sentient being that can ever live in this whole planes of existence. That you can, your luck even surpasses the devas, and also any of the king in this world, or the devas, or even the brahmas, because you already, are already an arya, and it's your luck, it's really surpasses everybody else, all sentient beings, and that itself is really your luckiest day that you can ever have. So I think we must actually take heed of what the Buddha actually has taught the monks in this MN 131. Practice day and night. Be ardent. Place your attention to the six sense doors. Don't be negligent. Always have sati in the six sense doors. Always be mindful. What actually impinges on the sense objects, and more importantly, how does your mind react to it? Is there any defilement, loba dosa moha, that arises in you? From there, catch hold of it, and don't let it fester your mind, and instead, apply, the sampajanya, what the Buddha taught. Look at how these are interplay. It's an interplay of causes and conditions, and from there you can actually see through very clearly, how everything arises through conditions. Like very much like what Venerable Nandaka actually taught, right? The bhikkhunis in this Nandaka Sutta. He actually taught the bhikkhunis to actually observe, to contemplate. For example, like the lamp that you light, right? Okay, the light that you see, or the fire that you actually see, when you light up a wick, with oil, so this Nandaka actually asked the bhikkhunis. So this fire itself, right? If you actually remove the wick, or the oil, or the wick or the oil, if you remove these elements, would the fire still be there? Can you actually say that the fire is actually a self? That it is there without any causes and conditions? That it doesn't depend on any conditions at all. It's actually it has a permanent, unchanging, self, and it does not depend on any conditions. Of course, the bhikkhu says no, because once the wick is exhausted, or the oil finishes, then very naturally the light of fire actually it extinguishes and goes out. So the fire itself is actually anatta, it's non-self. It actually depends on causes and conditions for it to arise. Very much like the shadow you see, in the middle of the afternoon, in the middle of the day, during afternoon, in the big tree trunk, a big tree like a sao tree, when the sun actually shines on the tree trunk, what do you see? You see a shadow. But can you say that the shadow itself, is a self? That it doesn't depend on any conditions? No, we cannot say that, because the shadow actually depends on what? On the sunlight, and also because of a tree trunk, there's actually that's forming the shadow. Because of these conditions, the shadow is there. So can you actually say that the shadow is there independently, without any conditions? That even if the sun and the tree trunk actually disappears, the shadow is still there permanently? No, you cannot, because that itself is not tenable. So that's why the Buddha says that intrinsically anything that's conditioned is actually non-self. So you can see how the Buddha, he's fully enlightened, that his wisdom is so infinite that he's able to see this non-self nature, through this practice of Kayagata Sati. So we must take heed of this MN 131 and apply day and night and practice it, so that we'll be able to at least become a Sotapanna, at least in this very lifetime, so that we can assure ourselves, that we only have up to 7 lives, that we only need to suffer, in this samsara. But even then, also these 7 lives, Buddha says you actually be born with all the rich Katiya families and Brahma families, and also you're probably be born in the Devas and the Brahmas, because you're already an Arya, a Sotapanna. So you even have to stay here for only up to 7 lifetimes, and on top of that, you can never fall into the woeful plains anymore. Can you imagine how lucky you are? So that's why the Buddha says, if you can practice these 5 gates, contemplate them day and night as non-self, then you really have yourself the luckiest day of your life. Okay, I've really reached the end of my Dhamma talk. I'll be happy to take any questions that anyone has. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much to Brother Ghatikara for the sharing. And now we will have our Q&A session. So please feel free to input your questions in the chat dialog box in the meeting. All right, please feel free to put in your questions in the chat dialog box below, and Brother Loo will address them.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Changi.
All right, perhaps if I may kickstart the Q&A session, I do have a question in mind. Brother Ghatikara, can you please explain or share with us what we can do on our daily contemplation in regards to the Karagata Gata in our daily life as a Buddhist? Yeah.
Karata Sutta, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Essentially, what the Buddha says in this MN 131 Karata Sutta is that we should not actually hanker after the past. We should, not actually conjecture and speculate in the future. With regard to the future. But most importantly, we must always have sati. With regard to our five sense, to our five aggregates. Okay. So the Buddha is actually asking us to be mindful, of the five aggregates. Okay, and not only being mindful, but he also says that we should actually contemplate these five aggregates to be non-self. And so, if you can actually see this as non-self, and you realize non-self, then essentially, then you are less agitated, and you suffer less in your daily life. So, like I mentioned in the Dhamma talk. You can do this actually in your daily life. It doesn't mean that you need to actually go for an intensive meditation retreat by taking block leaf, sitting cross-legged, close your eyes, watch your breath, rising, falling, or walking meditation, those are very good conditions, structured conditions for us to actually recharge our batteries, of sati sampajanya. But most importantly, in our daily lives, we need to actually apply, to actually be aware of our five aggregates, because that's even more important, because in our daily lives we are bombarded, with so many of these sense objects, whether what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, or what we touch, or what we think, we are bombarded by all these sense objects. So it's very important for us to be aware, to be fully aware, because this is actually the entrance door for lobha, dosa, moha to arise. It arises in our mind. So we must actually be able to have sati to catch hold of this. Watch your mind, whether lobha, dosa, moha arise in you. In our daily lives, for example, if you see a traffic light, right, and you're rushing to work, suddenly the traffic light turns red just when you're about to cross the line, right, cross the junction. Then you say, why must it be me? Why must the red light turn red only when I'm about to cross the junction? Then you find that, that there is this aversion, this dosa that arises in you. You become very angry and very frustrated, So you watch your mind, and from there you actually contemplate, how does this arise? Through the interplay of causes and conditions, through your sense door, you actually contemplate, and because of that, you see that, actually this anger itself is actually non-self as well. It's a sankhara that's actually non-self. From there, you are able to release it, release the anger, through wisdom. It's not through suppression, but it's through wisdom. And you find that it's actually quite foolish, for you to go on to it, because intrinsically, it's actually empty. And when the conditions are not there, it actually dissipates and disappears. So what we do in our daily lives is very important. We must always have this sati, in our six sense doors, because It is only through the six sense doors we're able to observe the five aggregates. Okay, then from there, like what the Buddha says in MN 131, we contemplate these five aggregates as non-self. Then eventually, one fine day, something just lights up in you. Just something, this light of wisdom just suddenly arises in you. Then you suddenly realize, oh, actually this anatta, this actually oneself is actually intrinsically present in all the sankharas. Anything that's conditioned is actually oneself. That's where disciples of the Buddha have become sotapanna. And that's why the Buddha says, if you can practice that, you actually have the luckiest day. You have a lucky day every day if you practice this. And if you become a sotapanna, then you are the luckiest person or luckiest sentient being in all the planes of existence. Nobody else surpasses you in terms of luck. It's even better than you hit the jackpot or even the 4D. It's even better than that. Even for all the treasures in the world. Are you going to bring them with you? Forever? Yeah, you may be happy for a while, but it's actually transient. Can you really bring them forever? But if you're a sotapanna, it stays with you. You are destined for enlightenment. Like what the Buddha says, niyato. Niyato means you're already like destined for enlightenment. Up to 7 lifetimes, you are bound to become enlightened. Either you listen to a Dhamma talk, by someone in Deva realm, some Devas in the Deva realm, or maybe you, who knows, maybe you will meet the next Buddha, or maybe somehow, conditions bring you again to the practice of Dhamma, and suddenly, then you become all the different stages, Sakadagami, Anagami, Arahantship, so stage by stage. Then by the 7th lifetime, you're really out of this samsara. That's what the Buddha says, you must always contemplate these 5 aggregates. It's so important. And the Buddha says that the Buddha equates this as actually being someone having a lucky day. So we must take heed of that, and always make sure that, we stay in the present moment, place your sati in the 6 sense doors, check how your mind reacts to it, and from there, apply sampajanya and allow the wisdom to arise. That's how we should practice.
All right, thank you so much, Brother Loo, for the clarification. Let's look at the chat box. There are some comments. Yes, I think I do resonate with Sam. I'm feeling very lucky today to be able to listen to Brother Loo sharing on this topic. And let's proceed to a question by Ruby Gun, which is posted on YouTube. So she said, thank you, brother. Wow, does that mean that we have to be aware of our daily actions in body, speech, and mind?
Yes, we do. Yeah, yes, we do. That's why the Buddha says right effort is very important. In the Noble Eightfold Path, right effort is very important for us to be aware of what we do by body, speech, and mind. Because, and how do you actually be aware of this body, speech, and mind? You can only do that if you watch your mind. Because, like for example, what you actually utter, your speech, your action, your what you think. You can only be able to catch this, your sankhara, your intention, if you watch the mind. So it is very important, so we must always apply the right effort, to the right mindfulness, right sati. So right sati, the Buddha actually equates right sati to the 4 foundations of mindfulness, right? So that's why the Buddha says, you must always be aware, your body, speech, and mind. So it's very important for us to be aware of this. Otherwise, if you don't watch your mind, you can't even keep your precepts well. You can't even keep your 5 precepts because, like for example, if you're not mindful, somehow you may just slip into breaking the 5 precepts. Maybe telling a lie for your personal profit. Maybe you might actually end up killing or you might even commit something, or even a harsh speech, even tale bearing, or even like slanderous, malicious speech. You speak ill about others, we are and gossiping, we are so fond of doing this, sometimes we're not even aware, that we do all these things, because like sometimes you have lunch with your colleagues or friends, and and they're busy, gossiping about someone, maybe backstabbing them, or even backbiting them, and because you want to be part of your colleagues, right? You actually you want to be part of them, so you actually join them as well. You being unmindful, like you just join them as well. Say, yeah, I know. I also think of this person such and such. It's really terrible and all this. So unmindfully, you actually you have actually done something that's actually unwholesome. The 10 good charitas, the 10 causes of unwholesome actions, because because you're unmindful, and sometimes even if you're mindful, because you want to actually proceed, you want to climb up the corporate ladder, right, for your own benefit. So you actually tell your boss, about this rival of yours, who's being considered for promotion as well as you. Then you start to actually backstab him, and talk bad about him, to actually devalue him, so that you are actually you stand a better chance of getting that promotion. So that is actually done mindfully, right? But because you don't watch your mind, you don't think about the consequences that you have, in the long run, in this round of samsara. One fine day, all these actions that you've done are going to actually come back to you and haunt you. You may actually get a promotion, fine. You may actually get what you want, your personal gains and personal benefit, but that's only for this life. Can you imagine this stain of unwholesome actions stays with you, in your mind, and it's actually going to ripen one fine day. This vipaka is going to ripen one fine day. So as I say, it's very important for us to watch our body, speech, and mind very, very carefully. That's why the Buddha says you must have right effort. You must have right effort, right mindfulness, and you must have actually right samadhi. In order for you to develop the wisdom. Otherwise, it's a very dangerous time we are in. If you are not mindful enough, you might just actually take the wrong path, and end up, in the wrong situation, a wrong realm. You fall into a woeful plane. So that's why the Buddha says, once you fall into a woeful plane, it's very extremely difficult for you to be back as a human again. Very, very difficult. You're born as a tiger, you're born as a lion, you're born as a shark. You keep on killing every day just to eat, to survive. Can you imagine the amount of akusala karma, the bad karma you've created, in this samsara? When are you going to ever get out of it? It's extremely difficult. The Buddha says for any woeful planes, like even the hungry ghosts, the petas, afflicted spirits, or the animals, to be reborn as a human being, is extremely difficult. Just like the sand in his fingertip compared to the whole earth. It's that difficult because you're so chained, to the woeful planes. The conditions there are just difficult for you to practice good. You just continue. Just for bare survival, you have to kill to eat. You have to even feed your cubs. The tigers. If you watch National Geographic, you have to feed your cubs every day. The lionesses have to hunt every day just to bring back carcasses of food for the young to eat, for the cubs. Otherwise, they go hungry. So every day they have to actually look at the buffaloes. Every day just to aim to eye where the next food source is going to be. Is it going to be the buffalo or going to be the antelope? Going to be keep on just nothing but killing every day. How horrible it is, right? You can imagine if you're born as an animal there. So it's a tiger there. So that's why I always say, I know it takes a lot of effort, but you must watch your body, speech, and mind by applying right effort. Even though it's very difficult at the beginning, if you apply it consistently enough, then it becomes something that's actually embedded within you, and you do it without actually much difficulty. So you must always practice right effort. So that's why I would urge you to actually watch your mind, all the time, because that's where the mind is. The mind is actually the forerunner of all things. It's going to determine what you do, what the action you do, the speech you utter, and the thoughts you think. All these are actually originate from the mind. So the Buddha says, Kaya Gata Sati, watch the mind, how it reacts. From there, try to eradicate all the defilements that arise in you, and see the non-self nature. From there, uproot all the fetters, from there, get out of samsara. So that is what the Buddha's advice to us.
Right, thank you very much, Brother Ghatikara, for the explanation. All right, so I guess we do have a little bit more time to take up another 1 to 2 more questions before proceeding to the sharing of merits. So the next question from YouTube as well, from Sam. The question says, Brother, is there any need to wish people good health and stay safe, since health and safety should be non-self? So people are consuming vitamins, spending on expensive insurance costs, and etc. Is there any need?
Yes, of course. I mean, if you want to wish somebody good health, good health, I wish you the best of health, to stay safe. Of course, intrinsically, we know that the 5 aggregates are non-self. But of course, it is also it is also important for us to supplement the vipassana, with metta as well, right? Because vipassana practice is actually something that enables us to see the intrinsic nature of sankharas. It's actually, it enables us to see through the truth. But if you just keep on practicing vipassana without actually supplementing with say practice of metta, then of course one tends to be rather emotionless and cold, right? Because like you said, everything is non-self, so it's true causes and conditions, so why should we worry about that, right? Even whatever is going to happen to the person, is going to depend on his karma, so, but that's not how it should be. We should also wish the other person, good health. That's actually part of metta. It actually is part of the practice that the Blessed One has taught as well. For us to have thoughts of loving kindness, thoughts of goodwill towards others. Hoping, hoping for the best. Hoping, wishing the other person, safety, and well-being. May you be safe and well always, and safe and secure always. I mean, that is actually part of metta practice, and it's also important as well, because metta is also part of a practice that actually serves to calm your mind. It's actually part of samatha practice as well. So so it does not mean that if you practice vipassana means that we should actually disregard and be rather cold about it. No, actually we must always have a balance of vipassana is always like the yin, and the metta is always like the yang. It's like you have a balance, and so that's how the practice can be balanced. It's not just vipassana alone. So it's important. We should we, of course, we know internal self nature, but we must also have the best wishes for others. As part of metta, it's also beneficial to our practice as well. As to the question of non-self, and whether we're taking vitamins to actually safeguard ourselves, and wearing masks. Of course, we should actually take whatever actions you can in order to safeguard your well-being. It doesn't mean that just because of non-self, we disregard whatever actions we should take. It's just like, for example, some people believe that there was this belief that we should all believe in karma. Therefore, when you get sick, right, then you should just believe, oh, this is my karma, and it's actually my fixed destination. It's my vipaka. So there's no point that I seek medical treatment. And in fact, there was this wrong teaching, that was taught to some Buddhist students in university in Malaysia. I can't remember which one. Where they were taught, some medical students actually dropped out because they were taught that it's wrong, to actually study medicine, because you are actually going against the law of karma, because the person actually has unwholesome karma, and when the person suffers, and it's because of his vipaka. So if you actually intervene and try to provide medication to the person, then you're actually going against the law of karma. So that is actually wrong teaching. It's actually wrong, because karma, is past karma is of course something that we cannot control, but the present karma itself is actually equally important. And the Buddha says you have the right, and you have the power to decide how you want to, what you can do right now, in order to improve your condition. You can apply right effort. You should apply, the best of endeavors in order to improve your condition. It doesn't mean that you should just take everything as accepted as fate. This is just my karma. Whatever that befalls me, that's my past karma. Nothing can be done already. So no point that I do anything, and just accept it. That's my fate. No, that's not what the Buddha teaches. The Buddha says that present karma is actually equally important. You should actually make the right effort to do whatever in your capacity, what you can, in order to improve your condition to the best of your ability. If you actually have an illness, you should take whatever medication necessary. You should go for your COVID jab. You should go for your medication. If you have any illnesses or seek a medical treatment, go for treatment, and do whatever within your capacity in order to improve yourself. So even if you're poor, it doesn't mean that, I just accept it, it's my fate. No, that's actually wrong dharma. You must apply, the right effort. Practice, do, as much good as possible. Apply effort, do within your capability, put in the hard work, do whatever you can. So, that's what the Buddha actually teaches. So, by seeing non-self doesn't mean that you just basically give up, and say, everything is non-self anyway. It's not within my control. No, seeing non-self actually helps you to be less affected, when adverse conditions arise in you. For example, you gain something, you lose something, when somebody speaks bad about you, you get angry, or somehow things don't turn up well in your life, or something adverse happens, then you should apply, non-self, to this, so that you suffer less, because because all these are not within your control. But it doesn't mean that by looking at non-self means, you just basically accept it, like, this is my fate, or let it be, I will just fall into depression, I don't care anymore, I just give up on life. No, the Buddha never says that. The Buddha says, yeah, you see non-self, yes, and don't be affected by it. Being like what you see in MM131, don't be shaken by it. Be unshaken, and apply the non-self. But on top of that, do whatever you can, gather up, all your energy you have in order to actually go ahead, and confront all these difficulties, and face them, and try to solve them, to the best of ability. If after what you have done, you still cannot achieve what you want, then fine, it's okay. At least you have given your best, okay? But you should not just give up on life and say, this is just my karma, this is non-self, it's not within my control anyway, so why should I bother, so just let it be, and just let go. No, that's wrong dharma. So we must be positive, the Buddha's teaching is actually a positive teaching, it's Noble Eightfold Path, everything is right effort, mindfulness, everything is positive. So we must always have that in mind. Do not have this concept of fate. It's like it's all fated. So that is actually wrong dharma. So we must take whatever precautions we have. Take all the vitamin pills you want. Eat organic food. If you want to stay healthy. Natural food. Go for your exercise, your tai chi, your whatever, your all the exercises that you need to do, your qigong and whatever, whatever that you can do within your capacity to improve your well-being. So be it. Go ahead. Don't think that, I have this sickness and that's it, my karma. it's non-self anyway. I don't, that's it. Don't care. Just give up on life and be depressed. No, that's not the way.
Yep, agree. Let's go on to the last question before we wrap up our Q&A session for today. So the last question is from the Bub's Facebook page. So the question reads, "Hi, brother. Non-self is equal to no ego?"
Non-self equals to no ego.
Hmm.
I'm not sure what exactly the context is, but when you say ego, essentially ego means conceit. If you equate ego with conceit, then yes, I would agree that if the Buddha says non-self, it would mean that you have actually seen non-self. Then if you have seen non-self in the Sankhara, essentially you would have actually eradicated conceit and ego within you. So if you achieve that, then you would have actually achieved you have uprooted the 10 fetters, of which conceit is one. The mana, the asmi mana, that itself is really being uprooted. So if you say ego as conceit, then yes, if you look at non-self, if you practice non-self, that it will be the path, the route towards uprooting ego. So actually, even if you look at the conventional language, when you say someone has a big ego, it also means someone who actually holds firmly to a self, right? It's like, this is my idea, this is my suggestion, why are you questioning my authority? Why are you questioning my opinion, So if you look at it, that is somebody who says that actually has got an ego, that's actually a huge ego, I would say, huge ego. And if you think about it, somebody who has that ego means somebody who actually holds firmly to the concept of self very strongly. He firmly believes that there's a self to it. So if you think about it, yes, I would actually think that if you having a concept of ego would actually mean that having a concept of self, and in order for you to uproot that fetter of ego or conceit, you must practice this kaya kata sati. You must actually be able to penetrate and see non-self in all the conditioned phenomena, and that's how if you see through your own mind, and the five aggregates, then you see that there's actually no self even within you. It's like a banana trunk, you keep on peeling, actually there's nothing inside. Or you see a mirage, there's actually a pool of water, a nice oasis there, but when you actually go over there, actually there's nothing. There's no water there, there's nothing. So you've been fooled, We've been fooled by this self for so long, in this samsara, because of this ignorance, like this paticca samuppada, avijja paccaya sankhara, it's because of this avijja, it's actually the main culprit, and also the asavas, they are the main culprit that actually results in all this craving and karma to be created. It's actually due to this ignorance, this delusion and this ignorance, because we don't know about, we do not realize, we keep on thinking that there is a self, and we hold on to this self. That's why, that's why, the ego tends to be so strong, and you hold on to this ego firmly, and that's how you suffer. When you lose something, you feel very upset, sorrowful. You lose your possession, and sometimes, you something adverse happens. You feel very sorrowful, and you lament. Because why? Because you feel that it shouldn't happen. I mean, all these things, I expect them to be permanent. Why is it happening? Why is it changing? So you cannot accept it. You cannot actually accept the non-self in the conditioned phenomena. So that's why you suffer. So the Buddha says, if you can practice this non-self, that's when you actually you slowly, stage by stage, you're able to see the non-self nature. You slowly will be able to uproot all the fetters, catch a glimpse of nibbana, and slowly then you actually overcome the ego as well. So that's why the The Arahants, they have no conceit at all. They have no ego at all. Even the Buddha, right? When someone actually disparages him, and says bad thing about him, he's actually equanimous. He just basically tells, that this is not true. What I teach is like that, like that, like that, like that. And he does not go around telling you, oh, you should listen to me. I'm the great teacher. You should listen to my teaching. All the others are all wrong. No, he doesn't say that. If you are willing to listen to me, I will teach you. If not, I also won't teach. He won't go around like trying to evangelize, try to get as many disciples as possible. Believe in me. I'm the God. Or I'm the truth. He doesn't do that. Because he's no longer, he doesn't have ego anymore. And even when someone actually pays deep respect to him, he's actually quite equanimous. He doesn't feel elation or happy about it. So this is the hallmark of an arahant who does not actually have ego or conceit, because he has uprooted all these factors, and the arahants and all the aryas achieve that because they practice the contemplation of non-self. If you see, right, even Verma Ananda also attained Sotapanna by using this method. He sees non-self, in all the 5 aggregates. Even, for example, like Venerable Sariputta also says that if you practice contemplate 5 aggregates, you can also become a Sotapanna, even in this very lifetime. So that's why this conceit is something very difficult to eradicate. Even if you are Sotapanna, you already have eradicated Sakaya Ditti, as a wrong view. You still have conceit in you. It doesn't mean that a Sotapanna, has actually eradicated conceit. He has not. He's far from it. He has just already eradicated 3 factors. So there is still this ego in the Sotapanna, the conceit. Sometimes when someone speaks badly about him, he also does feel angry. But of course, on reflection, by applying the right view, of this non-self, he slowly lets go of it. So he doesn't actually react, in such a reverse manner, like a Putujana. But there's still conceit in him. So in order for one to be totally eradicated of this ego and conceit, it has to be an arahant. Like the Buddha, the Pachika Buddhas, the arahants. These are the fully enlightened beings who actually have already seen non-self completely, perfectly, and they have eradicated non-self. Eradicated conceit, through non-self.
Right, thank you very much, Brother Ghatikara, for sharing the Dhamma with us.